It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world. It's a big day here that'll affect markets, obviously, as we're seeing already this morning. A little preview for you there, but, well, that red line in the sand is here today between Iraq and the United States. Does a settlement happen, or does the bombing continue out there? Obviously, the big news around the market as we go into this Tuesday morning as well. And let's not delay it all. Let's get into the Market Watch. Not a shocker. There's zero optimism of positive things today out there. Hope has faded ahead of the Iran deadline that's out there, which means stocks have fallen this morning as well. So obviously, nobody thinks there's a settlement coming our way today as well. U.S. crude oil has risen up above the $110 a barrel level again here today. It's kind of hovering there as well. Well, all because of that stuff out there. And right now, Dow Jones, well, it's down 430 points to 46,335. S&P 500's down the 54 points to 65.55. Nasdaq's down 262 points to 21,733. The Russell 2K, that small cap index, well, it's down 15 points right now, 25.21 for it. Big sell-off as soon as the market opened today, and that includes Bitcoin as well. Was touching up to that 70,000 level yesterday. Well, back down today, 68,139 for Bitcoin here today. And it's going to be one of those days unless a ceasefire is announced coming up. It's going to be one of those days here today. And we'll have to see what happens today, what goes into the market for tomorrow, and stocks we're paying attention to right now. Well, the first one we're going to look at is a company called Broadcom. Yes, Broadcom came out yesterday, and they said they agreed to supply artificial intelligence chips specifically to Google, which of course is an Alphabet company. They even signed an expanded deal with Anthropic to give the AI company about 3.5 gigawatts worth of computing capacity from Google's AI processors as well. So Broadcom's up 3.38% today based off of that news. Since Alphabet's involved in this deal as well, let's look at that stock here about 30 minutes into the trading day. Also up about 0.24% here today based off of this announcement from Broadcom as well. Then next up, now this next stock we're going to look at, the stores aren't here in the Valley, but it's a big convenience store throughout the United States. That's Casey's General Stores. Why are we looking at them, Steve? Well, they're up 0.88% right now as well. But the reason why we're looking at them, well, they're going to join the S&P 500 prior to the open coming up this Thursday as well. This was all announced by S&P Dow Jones Indices. They announced it yesterday as well. So Casey's is up 0.88%. Where Casey's General Store in that S&P 500, they're going to replace a company called Hologic out there, which is our next stock that we're going to look at as well here. They're up 0.48%, Hologic is as well. Well, Hologic's stock sales, they've been halted. That's what's happening with this stock, all due to the completion of its pending acquisition by Blackstone and TPG Global. So this stock's halted. This stock's going away, being replaced as of Thursday by Casey's General Stores out there for the S&P 500 as well. So when we come back later and look at stocks, we're going to look at healthcare stocks specifically. Oil stocks are all up today as well, right? ExxonMobil, ConocoPhillips, Halliburton, all up today because of the price of oil going through the roof as well, back up to that $110 per barrel range there here today based off of that war in Iran. So we'll look at the healthcare stocks coming up here in just a little bit. But first, just on that oil news, over the weekend, a group of OPEC Plus members actually met and they agreed to increase the oil output, but only once the Strait of Hormuz is actually reopened. The plan is set to be implemented in May, and the country said that they would actually plan to produce an additional 206,000 barrels per day upon that condition of the Strait of Hormuz reopening. Now, the 8 members of OPEC Plus, that's Saudi Arabia, Russia, Iraq, UAE, Kuwait, Kazakhstan, Algeria, and even Oman, well, they all agree to increase May quotas to hit that goal. It marks an increase from April of 2023. That was back when the nations agreed to voluntarily boost production to 1.65 million barrels per day. And obviously, it's contingent on the Strait of Hormuz reopening, which who knows when that's going to be coming up as well. So we are getting a lot of people trying to alleviate the pricing here on oil and those effects, and very little effect, right? Gas is still, at least here in the valley, hovering at 4.99. We know it's going up nationally over $4 a gallon last week. Everybody's trying to do it. Nothing is happening yet with the war continuing to happen out there. And getting away from the war type items here as we just wait today to see what happens later on. We now know, well, we've known for a while, let me put it that way, that Americans are concerned with the rising cost of health care and obviously the surging health insurance premiums at the same time out there. But now we have a Gallup poll that came out last week. It found that healthcare is the top domestic issue facing Americans among 16 policy areas included in the survey. Number one on your mind, number one in your hearts as well. 61% say they worry a great deal about healthcare access and affordability. Healthcare is topping the list of domestic concerns, and that represents a resurgence in the issue's prominence. The last time it was the foremost issue in voters' minds was back in 2020, pandemic year, right? When everybody was worried about healthcare and surviving the COVID disease, right? By the way, it held that position dating back to 2015 as well, the healthcare costs. It was roughly tied with the economy in 2025, but now the healthcare actually leads by 10 points over the economy as of right now in these Gallup findings. So these findings are similar to those in a recent Fox News poll also. They found that 81% of voters are either extremely or very concerned about healthcare. So that figure trailed only inflation and high prices in the Fox Business poll. 86% of voters were concerned about inflation and high prices out there. So healthcare is a big thing on everybody's minds right now. Yes. The poll found that healthcare was a concern for a majority of voters across political groups. It doesn't matter what political side you're on, it's a major concern. 89% of Democrats, 80% of independents, and only 72% of Republicans say they're either extremely or very concerned about healthcare. Healthcare concerns were didn't matter across age groups either. 77% of respondents under age 45 and 83% of those over age 45 were extremely or very concerned about healthcare. So, interesting enough, those views were shared by 86% of those of over age of 65 as well. So, doesn't matter your age, doesn't matter your politics, you're concerned about healthcare and the rising cost of them out there, at least according to the Gallup poll and that Fox Business poll as well that came out last week out there. Now, we talked about oil pitching your budgets right now. I've been telling you guys here on this program for a while, insurance is killing everybody right now. We just talked about health insurance. Now let's talk about home insurance rates out there. So 45.8% increase in regulator approved home insurance rates. Yeah, that's a huge number. 50% increase roughly. And it's impacting not just housing affordability if you don't own a home, but even if you own a home, it's squeezing you out as well. Lending Tree gives us this report. And they found that home insurance rates have been rising nearly twice as fast as inflation in recent years. The findings were compiled by analyzing S&P Global Rate Watch data for home insurance rate changes and even the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics for inflation data also. So from 2020 to 2025, 19.7 percentage point gap between this 45.8% home insurance rate increase and the 26.1% inflation rate. So that means home insurance rates rose about 1.8 times faster than the inflation during this same time frame. The widest gap between home insurance increases and inflation, they actually occurred between 2023 and 2024. In 2023, home insurance rates rose by 12.5%. Inflation then was only 2.9% in 2024. Home insurance rates rose by 10.7%. Their inflation was only 3.4%. The gap did ease a bit here in 2025. Last year, Home insurance rates and inflation sitting at 5.9% and 2.7% in terms of the inflation side as well, according to that Lending Tree report out there. And yeah, insurance companies will tell you everything's more expensive. We got to charge more. Everything's more expensive to fix. Is it two times more expensive to fix when inflation numbers aren't there? Yeah. So your home insurance, and you just pay that every month, right? Goes out in your mortgage. Or like if you're like me, you just pay it yourself every month. It just comes out of my checking account on the properties and everything, and you don't pay attention to it. You'll see a little blip, right? You'll see $100 increase or $50 increase a month, but it doesn't equate to how much it's going up, right? As it just naturally comes out there, and yeah, and then let's time now to let's pour one out for the rich people out there, right? Just a little levity story here, but it just shows that not everybody's struggling with something out there, folks. Let's put it that way. Yes. If you fly private, well, you found out that you're facing hefty surcharges to do so. Yes, and this even accounts on flights that are booked months ago as well. Yeah, more customers turned to private air during the pandemic, all to avoid the crowds, avoid the airports. And the option does remain popular, and it's become more important to the aviation sector as wealthier households, well, they prop up spending and travel in other, travel areas out there. Now, so we're talking about deep pocketed travelers, obviously, and they're less likely to get priced out with these airfares rising, but they have to navigate unexpected fees as brokers and charters differ on how they pass along fuel costs. The reason why this is being brought up, I know it's private air, and we're all going. If you're like me, you're going, yeah, who cares about private? They go back commercial like the rest of us, right? Well, I'm bringing it up because this is a problem for everybody, and it's also in this side. And jet fuel prices in major U.S. cities, as you know, were up more than 80% last month. And then jet charter prices, they've increased by 5 to 15% on average in that same time frame, some rising as much as 20%, all because of that Iran conflict out there. And, everybody, and then some companies are eating the jet fuel increased prices. Some are passing them along to the consumers, even if you have a flight booked. What are we seeing that elsewhere, right? Some companies have been eating the cost. Then you saw yesterday Amazon, you know, passing along fuel surcharges to their third party vendors and things to that effect. So some have eaten the cost, some have now passing along the cost, and you're running into that in every aspect out there. So even though that's a rich person's story there, most of us don't know what that means in terms of private flying, but it's legitimately what's happening across and it's hitting, those charter flights, those companies and things to that effect as well. And then, speaking of travel, I guess you can call this air travel. People call it deep space travel. Yes, now officially, the Artemis 2 astronauts, the three of them, they've traveled deeper into space than any other human ever has. Yes, and astronauts have now officially pointed their rocket ship, or they call it the moon ship, towards home. Yes, wrapping up a lunar cruise that revealed views of the far side of the moon never beheld by eyes until now. So they did a flyby of the moon yesterday, NASA's first return since the Apollo era. It included some celestial sightseeing and also got some rich science involved with it. It was a significant step toward landing boot prints near the moon's south pole. They want to do that in the next couple years. A solar eclipse greeted the three American and one Canadian astronaut as the moon temporarily blocked the sun from their perspective, which means if the sun's being blocked from the front, well, that means Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Saturn, well, it was right there behind them in all of their glory from the opposite side, there in the black void of the eclipse. The landing sites of Apollo 12 and Apollo 13 were also visible. Well, that's interesting, but that's also reminders of NASA's first age of exploration. Folks, that was more than a half a century ago when we were there. In an especially riveting retro throwback, Artemis 2 shattered the distance record set by the Apollo 13 in 1970. NASA's Orion capsule reached the maximum distance. It was 252,756 miles from Earth. Then it's, of course, went around the moon, went behind the moon, coming back here 4,101 miles farther than the Apollo 13 did back in the day, if I can say that. So, meeting some goals and some records here with the Artemis 2 as well. And, folks, when we come back here at McCollum on Business, we, of course, keep the show rolling here on this Tuesday. Got local stories coming your way, a bunch of them. We're going to go down to Tucson, some data center regulation there. Come back up here to Phoenix as well. So, come on back. It's McCollum on Business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business Tuesday edition. Appreciate you joining me. Of course, I'm Stephen McCollum, and just another one of those trying days here around the business world and the markets, all based around the optimism of a ceasefire happening with the Iran war. Well, that optimism is not there at all. Ceasefire hopes have faded on the market as well. We're waiting on that. Oil's back above 110. Means all the oil stocks are up again today as well. And we're going to have to wait and see what happens later today. 5 p.m. our time, 8 p.m. Eastern time was the deadline given for a ceasefire to be put in place. We'll have to see if that happens, and if so, if not, what happens. Obviously, go into that later on today and into tomorrow's Market Watch here on McCollum on Business. And, you just saw right there the commercials, right? As soon as we're done here, we get this show up on demand here, Robat TV. All of our programming that we put out is on Robat TV that we are responsible for as a production company here at TME Media. As soon as we're done here, this gets up at Robat TV on our YouTube page as well for our production company. TME Media AZ on YouTube is where you can find it. It has its social media as well on X. TME Media AZ is where you can find the media companies where we put out posts, and we're getting better at it. We just started it. We're going to put out posts about the shows, even the shows that we produce that we don't put out, right? They go to other entities to be released. I kind of tell you what we do here as a production company. So TME Media AZ, where you can follow us on X as well. As soon as we're done here, right into the main event. Bruce Cooper, of course, 34-year Channel 12 News sports veteran, will be joining us on Tuesdays here as well. Of course, we got to talk a lot, right? National championship game, Arizona's run to the Final Four, Diamondbacks 5-5 at the Mets starting today. So coming up 8 to 10 a.m. live here at Robat TV. On demand right after that here, Robat TV on the TME Media AZ YouTube page, as well as your free podcast systems. At TME Sports Show on social media is where you can find us, but also on your favorite podcast system, either TME Sports Show or The Main Event with Steven, The Main Event with Dale. It pops right up for you there. Pit Stop coming up your way Wednesday. New episode looking back at last weekend's limited racing over Easter weekend at the Rockingham last weekend. Of course, we look ahead to racing this weekend coming up as well. So look for the Pit Stop on the YouTube page, TME Media AZ, or it's even got its free podcast there as well. The Pit Stop Talk is where you can find it on X. Support us there on our social media side, but also the podcast systems out there Apple, Google, Spotify. Just search the Pit Stop with Steven, and it pops right up for you on your free system. Then you got the Real Matrix, new episodes every Friday. 10 a.m. It goes out on Robat TV. Noon. Now, not on YouTube. YouTube restricts a lot of the stuff they talk about, but on Rumble is where you can find the Real Matrix out there. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find the programming there for you as well on Rumble. Then the Real Matrix has its own podcast as well, The Real Matrix, where the shows go out. For those of you that would rather look at them, just search The Real Matrix Angry Patriot. It pops right up for you as well. And we're going to start getting, I was trying to do it yesterday, and there's some issues we had to work out there as well, but we're going to start putting the sports programming on Rumble as well. Yeah, we've heard from the several of you that have reached out saying you don't do YouTube. Can we put it on Rumble? And since we're utilizing Rumble for the Real Matrix, absolutely, we'll start putting the sports shows on there as well, starting this week, hopefully today. You'll find all of our programming like you do on the YouTube page, TME Media AZ, on the Rumble page, which is TME Media there as well on Rumble. So rumble.com/user/TME Media to find all of that out there. With that being said, look, I've been trying to delay this, but we got to get into it. We're a business show. Let's get right back into the Market Watch. Nothing has changed, folks. If anything, it's exactly what it was earlier, maybe a little bit worse out there. Yes, everything's down because of the Iran war situation. 332 points down right now for the Dow. S&P 500's down the 42 points. The Nasdaq's down 228 points as of right now, and then you got the Russell 2K down 23 points for that small cap index. Bitcoin also sinking today. It was close to that 70,000 level yesterday. Well, it's down to 68,119 as of right now. So instead of looking at the oil stocks, which we know are up with oil being over $110 a barrel, let's look at healthcare stocks here as well. So a bunch of companies are up today because the Center of Medicare and Medicaid Services did finalize its proposed payment increase to those privately run Medicare Advantage plans out there. Now, the proposed payment increase is higher than its initial proposal back in January, because back in January, it kept the payments flat, then insurers stocks falling with there being a flat number. So now there's a positive number. It's higher than that January number, and that's why we're going to look at Humana right now. Here's our first stock in this segment, up 4.45% right now for Humana. United Health, let's look at them next as well. 7.72%. No graph on this, but CVS, Hallmark, they're up about 10% as well here today. So these healthcare stocks are up based off of the proposed payment increase is higher than that initial proposal back in January. So healthcare stocks today all up as well. And let's get into some local stories here as well. And let's go down to Tucson really quick. We know a lot of municipalities have, especially here up here, right? Phoenix has done this, have put restrictions on data centers, for instance. Now, city leaders down in Tucson, they're going to discuss the amendment to the city code that would actually restrict how data centers can operate down there. Local officials will address the item during their study session today. Now, the mayor, Regina Romero, and city council members, they asked city officials to put together a draft amendment after voting to block that. Remember that Project Blue that happened down there last year? That was almost pushed through, and enough people complained that they stopped it afterwards. And that was all a project that was going to use millions of gallons of city water at that time. So this new draft amendment is one of several steps the city has taken to regulate those large-scale water use and other data center needs, all in response to intense public scrutiny over that Project Blue proposal. Officials have also held a series of public meetings and a survey for public comment that did close at the end of last month. But the amendment proposes a formal definition of what a data center is. It does require them to demonstrate an adequate water supply, and then a bunch of other regulations to be put on them in the Tucson area in order to operate down there. So that's coming today. We'll have to see what the results are of that. And We want to go, as a whole of Arizona here. We now know Arizona's job market through 2025. Well, we know that Arizona's job market was a lot cooler than everybody was expecting. This is all from the latest report from the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity. So 2025 closed with a net loss of about 19,400 jobs. That's the latest report, as I said, from the Office of Economic Opportunity. But it shows the state's unemployment rate jumped from 4.2 to 4.5% from January of 25 to January of 26. Arizona's seasonally adjusted unemployment rate, well, it went to 4.5% in January. That's a tenth of a percent increase compared to December of 2025. So we know the major U.S. economy did cool a little bit in terms of jobs, and definitely happened that way here in Arizona as well. And then a lot of talk here, right, about Kalshi. It's in the news a lot lately. It's in the news again today, but we're not going to talk about that because, then you got the Arizona Department of Gaming here in Arizona. That's kind of suing Kalshi and those prediction markets, etc. But the Arizona Department of Gaming has launched a public service announcement campaign. It's all to address the problem with gambling or the problem gambling that you could run into, right? So they are highlighting a self-inclusion exclusion program, and that allows Arizona residents to ban themselves from gambling establishments, event wagering, and even fantasy sports. So if you feel like you're out of control, you can just say, "Ban me from everything, please." So this campaign is called "Take Back the Game," and it features 30-second PSAs on all the media, right? TV, radio, the internet. The Department of Gaming is also trying to raise awareness about illegal online casinos. And also, they want to raise awareness and the issues with underage gambling as well. So, you're going to see more PSAs out there for the dangers of that. And we talk a lot here about the cost of home prices and owning a home up. We talked about insurance earlier in the show and how that's been up 40, was it 48%, if I remember correctly? Well, renters, you're getting a little bit of relief if you're looking for a new place to live here recently, or you like where you are, but your rents got jacked up a lot. Maybe when your lease is up, you can negotiate a lower rate there, and rental costs across the whole Mountain West they're dropping, and even here in Arizona. Now, the building bloom is happening still in the Mountain West, causing a lot of these downsides as well. But as home ownership does continue to remain out of reach for many people, renting is became unaffordable as well, and now it's dropping. The median price for a new lease it's down 1.5% from a year ago across the country, but in some Mountain West states, including Arizona, the decline in cost to renters well, it's up to 5% in some places. So obviously, this is good news for renters out there, but rents are still higher than they were before the COVID pandemic. Of course, that's over 6 years ago. The rents are still higher than they were in the past, but they are coming back down. And I have a bunch of rental properties and a management company that handles them, folks. As you know, for those of you that have followed me for a long time, rents are dropping out there, no doubt about it for everyone. And then finally, let's talk a little bit about Arizona State's WP Carey School of Business. It's officially jumped 6 spots. It's at number 29 in the 2026 U.S. News and World Report National Full Time MBA Rankings. The program there at the WP Carey School, it saw strong accelerated results and the average starting salaries of approximately $133,727. Yes, over 85% employment within 3 months of graduation. So, so those key numbers of this report here, just to sum it up for you, as I said, they ranked 29th nationally, 6 spot rise. 59.3% of graduates were employed at graduation. And as I told you, 85.7% employed within 3 months of graduation. The starting salary and bonus was around 133,000 as well. The WP Carey School, the MBA school, it's highly recognized for entrepreneurship, ranked number one in the U.S., number two in the world by Poets and Quants in late 2024. Then the online programs. Their online MBA also ranks in the top 10 nationally. Online graduate programs maintaining a top position on the online side there as well. So Good success there for my alma mater in the business school there, WP Carey MBA program there at Arizona State University as well. And folks, appreciate you joining us here on this Tuesday edition. We're going to roll into the main event here live at from 8 to 10 as well. Me and 17-year NFL veteran Dell Hellestrade. Bruce Cooper comes in today as well. Talk a lot of fun here. Have a lot of fun here on the program talking the sports. All this will be up on demand. TME Media AZ, folks, on YouTube as well, or rumble.com/user/TME Media. We'll get that going here today as well. Barring Rumble allowing us to go up there, we had to create some channels and things. Learning that Rumble system, a little bit of a delay, but it's coming, folks. Hey, we'll see you in a little bit. Everybody have a great Tuesday afternoon. See you tomorrow, everyone.